Hello everyone, we're building a website that can do everything, so subscribe to keep up with the series, and don't forget to recommend a feature in the comment section that you would like to see in the next video. So all we have so far is a way to display to-do list items and information about them, and the only way we can interface with them is through the admin interface. So take a look at the screen. If there's anything else you want to see, just let me know in the comment section. So thank you to Craig McMillan2657 because today we are going to be implementing their feature. Would be good to see a backend component using a NoSQL tech like MongoDB. Exactly what the use case would be, not sure. We don't care, we're just going to do it anyway. Okay, so we're going to use something called Djongo, and it says the only connector that lets you use Django with MongoDB without changing the Django ORM. So basically our models will look the same, which is really cool. And by the way, I've never actually used MongoDB or Django for that matter. I can see in the requirements that it says MongoDB 3.4 high, so I'm not sure if that means we actually need to separately install MongoDB. I guess we'll find out. So I'm going to copy Django into here, and then what we need to do is we need to pip compile. This is going to update our requirements.txt file, and then we can see here we've got Django via pymongo, and it's installed a few other things that we seemingly need, and then we're going to pip sync, and that's just going to update everything for us. So that's what I was saying in the first video. It's a really nice little tool. Just make sure everything is compatible. Okay, so we now need to add the database to our databases variable in our settings file. And what it's doing here is it's changing the default one to Django. We're not going to do that. We're going to be keeping our default engine as SQLite, but we're also going to be defining a MongoDB one that we can then use whenever we feel like, which I think is much more in the spirit of what the comment actually asked. It said, would be good to see a backend component using a NoSQL tech. So we're still going to keep SQLite for most of the models for now. Okay, so what I've done is I've added a new database called MongoDB. It's using the Django engine, and the name I've given it is db_mongodb. So what we're going to have to do now with our models is basically specify what DB table we want to use. This is in the Django docs, so I'll go and do that now. So actually, for the to-do model we currently have, we're just going to be using SQLite, which is the default. So I don't think we need to specify anything. Guess we'll find out. Now, unfortunately, we didn't specify what we actually wanted to do with this model. And I really want to stick to the spirit of the series, so we're just going to have to build something really generic. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a file in our models folder called our one MongoDB model. It's called model using MongoDB, and the only meta I've given it is the DB table. Now this is the name from here. So as before, we can't quite yet do the migrations. We actually need to import it. So from main.models.r1 MongoDB import this. Okay, now is the moment of truth, I guess. We're going to have to see if this make migrations works. There's a part of me that thinks it's not going to work, and we might have to install MongoDB or something, but we'll find out. So that actually worked, but we haven't actually done a migration yet. So we'll do python manage.py migrate, and that seems to have actually worked. There's nothing in this comment about building a front end, nothing about displaying the model in the admin, nothing like that, nothing about being able to navigate to it through a navigation bar or anything like that. So we're going to leave it as is and test that it's working using the Django Shell. Mind you, I think this is a good place to leave a reminder to leave a comment below of what feature you want to see implemented next. Do this import, hopefully that works. Okay, that seems to have worked. Then if we do like x equals, goodness, nice. Field 1, I think it was called, I don't know, equals hello. And then if we do x dot save. So supposedly that's now worked. We've saved a record in our database using MongoDB. Apparently we can use this command to see the alias. Wait, that's using default. So we have definitely not done that correctly. Okay, I am getting this weird error where it says no module named pytz. So I'm going to try and install that. So as before, I'm just going to put it in this requirements file. It's a bit weird because I feel like this is the type of thing that this software usually sorts. Pip compile, pip sync. Okay, so it looks like we've successfully installed this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to delete this migration. Hopefully that works. Okay, so it looks like we've deleted that last migration we did. So we ran make migrations again, so same as before, and this time I'm going to try and run this command. I think it's still going to fail, if I'm honest, but we'll see. So python manage.py migrate, and this time we're specifying the database, which you can do to use MongoDB, which is just from our settings file here. And that's what we're referencing. That's the actual database. So let's try that. So we're still getting a similar issue, this time a different one. Okay, so one thing I just noticed is that the Django version here in the requirements.txt is 1.2.31. Whereas I noticed that there's a Django version 1.36, so I'm just going to try and install that. So that actually failed, which tells me that what it was doing is finding that was the latest version that was compatible with the packages I had installed. So what I've done is I've massively cleaned up this, so I'm not even specifying a version of Django anymore. I'm literally only specifying a version of Django, and I'm going to try that. I'm just curious to see what version of Django we actually get. So our new version of Django is actually 4.1.11, so we've actually downgraded 1, but I think I'm fine with that. But the other thing worth noting is that this time when I ran the migrations with MongoDB, it did work, but we did get a different error. So I looked it up, and it seems to be related to just the fact that I don't think Django is very maintained, and this is why we're having problems. And it looks like if we actually install this, apparently we might be able to solve the problem. So what I've noticed here is we've got PyMongo 4.50, and I think what we're just going to do is, again, specify this. So what this will do is hopefully these will still be compatible. So again, what we're going to do is just delete this file, delete it permanently, delete, compile. So this will regenerate our requirements file, and then we're going to do a pip sync. There seems to have been no issues with that. Did we delete this already? I guess we need to delete this again. Delete permanently. Back to our terminal, and we want to do make migrations, and then we want to specify our MongoDB, and hopefully this time it works. It took quite a while last time. So we got a new error, and there could be a couple of reasons. It might be that we need to change our settings file, but I think the reason is that we don't have MongoDB installed in the same way we would need Postgres installed on our actual system, which is why Docker can be quite good. So I think all we need to do is install MongoDB on our actual operating system. Okay, so I'm just going to follow this guide for the community edition on Ubuntu install, and I've already done this command, which is showing me that the distribution is 22.04 and it's jammy, which there is support for. Okay, let's run this command. So that's already installed. Now let's run this. Okay. Now we're on jammy. So create this. Lovely. And then reload local package database. Okay, then what? Install the latest version of MongoDB. Let's just do it like that. I think that's fine. What else? Optional, although you can specify any available version. apt-get, okay, that's fine. Now the question is, do we always need to start it? So I think the problem is that systemctl doesn't actually exist for us. And we need to do this, and then we need to do, is there a way? I'm going to just put this on another monitor so I can see it. We need to do boot, like that. System D equals true, apparently, and I think it's Control X, cat on that, just to make sure that worked. Okay. Okay, so I then ran this in the Windows PowerShell, and it says this will completely shut down your WSL machine. Now you simply have to reopen your Linux distro. So let's go to our terminal and look at our history. And I think it was just this one. That seems to have actually worked. Actually, it failed. So let's investigate that. Okay, I finally managed to fix it. And this is the log. I think all I had to do in the end was basically manually create this log file. I'm not sure why, but it just didn't get created on the install. I also uninstalled and reinstalled, so it's been a real pain, so thanks. Okay, now it would be nice if we could just go back to migrate, and I'm going to do it like this actually. Oh wow, it actually did it. We actually did it. We've got it working. Okay, so I do actually think we have it working, but there's a couple of things that I need to talk about. So all I've done is open a shell, as you can see here, and as before, we've just imported our model. Then I've created this instance of our model, and I've saved it. The big thing to notice here is using equals MongoDB. If you don't do this, you won't use MongoDB as far as I can tell. And when we're grabbing it, we're also grabbing it using MongoDB. Now I had actually created 3 records, including this one, but we've only got 2, and that's because 2 of them were created using this MongoDB field. So if I now, let's just do the top one again, right? Like, I know we can just use X, but I'll use Y so it's more clear. And then we'll do y.save. But instead of doing y.save MongoDB, we'll just do this. And now, if we grab all the objects, notice we still only have 2 objects in this list. Whereas if we do without this, I'm guessing, if I grab this, these are the objects we were creating before, if you remember. So these are actually being saved into the SQLite database for this model, which I think is really interesting. And if we just go back and do it again, let's use this one, and we do y.save using MongoDB. Now I think the chicken field should be fine, field 1. And if we now grab all the fields in MongoDB, we'll see we'll actually have a 3rd entry. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. So we've done it. It'll be quite interesting actually to display this in the admin. I don't know if I'm going to do it, I'll have a little think about it. But just because I want to see if it's 2 different tables. Because it is 2 different tables, because one of the tables is from MongoDB and the other is for SQLite. It's just the same fields. Anyway, yeah. So we did it, but it was an absolute pain. So thank you, Craig McMillan, for that suggestion. We definitely learned some stuff. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.